Welcome to the ChairLife podcast with Tom Cuthbert. As a CEO coach and master chair, Tom brings you the insights, strategies, and tools to help you build your chair life, where mission and purpose intersect with a balanced work life. This is the path to leading with impact while living with intention. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Tom Cuthbert.
As Stephen Covey says, the key is not spending time, but investing time. This is why it's so important for us as Vistage chairs, not only to guard our time, but to teach our members to do the same thing. In our group meetings, that time is precious, and we need to model how to guard your time and invest it wisely. Today's podcast is all about high-performing behavior number 6. You may have guessed by now, guard your time and use it wisely. This is critical for us as Vistage chairs to model this for our members and expect that they will do the same thing, not only in our group meetings, but in our one-to-ones by preparing for those and their accountability teams and back at their companies. Time is a finite resource, and none of us have more than anyone else. So it's really all about how we use that. I built this as a high-performing behavior because I want to make sure members are getting value out of every minute that they spend in a group meeting, every moment of a one-to-one. The more value they see and feel and experience, the stronger their connection and the greater retention we will have with our members in our community. A Forbes study from 2023 says leaders lose 20% productivity based purely on poor time management. Now, this is not only inside their company for them, but you run that across every single leader, every single team member in their entire company. And time management, guarding our time and using it wisely, is something we need to be modeling and expecting from those that we're leading. So what are the elements of this behavior that you and me as Vistage chairs should expect from our members? Well, here's what is in this behavior. Number 1 is commit to attend. Show up every meeting, every one-to-one on time, ready to go. Prepared, focused, not distracted. This signals dedication. This helps build trust in the groups. Number 2 is being fully present. We ask our members, no phones out of sight. Now, I also want members to feel like they're not completely isolated. They're running companies. They're busy executives. And so they need to have access back to their office, to their community, to their team. But that said, they also need to be and learn to be fully present and focused in our group meetings. And we've talked about this before in another behavior. But having people focused, phones out of sight, increases the ability for them to be present. It increases the engagement. And so we need to model that. And our Vistage groups are the exact place to do that. Now, I'm not going to lie. The next one, punctuality, has been a struggle for me with our members. And if you're a member listening to this, you know who you are. But it's important for us to expect and not tolerate members being late. I give a grace period at the beginning of every meeting. I tell them that we start at 8:30 and we're in a big city, as are you probably, and traffic can be a problem and other things can be an issue. So we start at 8:30 and then I kick off the meeting, whether that's a speaker or our executive session, at 8:45. And this also gives them time to kind of socialize with each other and catch up, because we do want to make sure that they're engaging and building relationships with other members. But when someone comes in late, especially during a speaker, it can disrupt the flow. It could be a distraction and, quite honestly, erode trust and respect. Staying the full day and staying engaged the full day is another aspect of this behavior. I don't want members ducking out early. We try to build the schedule and put the schedule out over a year in advance. All of our 2026 schedule has been out there for some time. This means that they need to block it and guard it on their calendar. I also encourage them when they're leaving to let their team know, I've got Vistage today, so I'm going to be out. I'm going to be fully focused on that. Now, you may recall from an early episode, I change my voicemail every single day. And I do so that people that are trying to reach me know where I am. My entire team, which is 4 people that work for us in not only my Vistage business, but the other businesses I'm involved in, that team has my calendar. They know where I am and what I'm doing all the time. They know when I have breaks and when they can contact me if something is going on. And we have built a protocol for how and when to contact me if something is urgent. Talk to your members about alerting their team that they're going to be out for the day and that they're going to be in Vistage. You align this with protocols internally inside their company, and they'll be able to feel more comfortable and be more focused. Now, what are some best practices for us as chairs? Well, the first one is exactly this. Put and build high-performing behaviors in front of your members. Talk to them about it consistently. When they're off track, guide them back on. When they're on track, thank them and encourage them for their participation. We need to model setting expectations, and our high-performing behaviors are exactly that. We can also reinforce these behaviors in the agenda. They're on our placemats. They're on our nameplate. We have our little high-performing pamphlets that we keep out there. One best practice that we've really been leaning on recently is leveraging our members' executive assistants. So some of you have EAs. If you don't need help with that, let us know. We've got lots of resources. But if you've got an EA, get your EA connected to your members' EA. This will make sure that there are no scheduling conflicts, both for meetings and for one-to-ones. You can also model routines by running our members through the same process that we use in our own lives. I've shared with them a number of times the systems and processes that I use in my life to run my day-to-day. And while their business and their world is very different than mine, a lot of those same principles apply. Certainly by starting our meetings on time, ending them on time, giving breaks, keeping things fresh and moving. All of those things are ways to keep us more focused and alert. We can facilitate some time audits. And I say this because I often ask CEOs in one-to-ones, show me your calendar. Let's see where you are investing time. This is a great exercise and has sparked a number of fantastic conversations for me with our members that have helped them guard their time and use it more wisely, use it in the most impactful way. And lastly is in accountability teams. Our members meet between meetings with accountability teams. And these teams are important times for them, not only to build relationship, talking about what they learned from the speaker and helping each other with issue processing. So talking to them about these high-performing behaviors and encouraging them to use that accountability team wisely is another benefit. Now, here's an inside tip for you, and I've talked about this before at Chair World and in scale-up sessions, but I have been very intentional about this, guarding my time and using it wisely. For those that have seen my flywheel, and if you have not, you can go to my website, tomcuthbert.com/flywheel. We'll put that in the show notes. You'll note that my flywheel begins with guard my time and use it wisely. When I do that, good things happen in my world. Over the last 10 years or so, I've been very focused on this, adopting Stephen Covey's principles, Jim Collins' flywheel, Atomic Habits, Indistractable by Nir Eyal, Essentialism by Greg McKeown. All of these books and resources and people and focus have allowed me to reduce the number of hours I work per year by almost 500. Now you think about that. I've increased my earnings per hour by working less and being more focused and more present and more effective in the work that we do. So lastly, I thought I would share with you just a reinforcement of why this is so important. When you, as a chair or as a leader or as a CEO, guard your time and use it wisely, you'll be able to be more present. You'll be modeling good behaviors for those that you're leading, and you'll be able to achieve the most important things in your life. You'll be able to lean in and be someone that is in control of their time, in control of their systems and process and their world. And when we do that, what are the results? Well, the results are higher sales, bigger profits, achieving goals, growing, learning, leading, doing all the things that our members need us to do and that our members need to do in their lives and inside their companies. So I hope you'll lean into this, guard your time and use it wisely. And I will give you some time back to go do that. Thanks for listening.
Now it's time for Tom's tips and tricks to optimize your productivity and your chair life.
James Clear said it best. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Oh, it's goal setting time of the year, and it's one of my favorite times of the year as we move towards the end of the year. And so I thought I would take a minute and just refresh our conversation, add some personal insights as to how I have adopted many of the productivity hacks and things that I've learned from the book Atomic Habits. As we set goals this year, it's really important for us to remember that anyone can set goals. The goal is to achieve those goals. And so if we don't think about how to build systems and processes around us that allow us, enable us, and guide us to achieving those goals, we're going to fall short. And we're going to be like the majority of people that set goals and never achieve them, and then eventually just give up on that process. I highly recommend that you lean in to goal setting with you personally, sharing it with your members and encouraging them to do the same. And we'll talk more about that in a coming episode. So following on with the first part of this podcast about guarding your time and using it wisely, I thought I'd give you some insights into some day-to-day things that I do and how I'm using the things that I've learned over the years from James Clear's work and even his conversations with us in our Vistage community. One resource for you that you can check out is my website, tomcuthbert.com/habits. There's a page there that has a little more explanation and some links to some resources that I use in my world to make habits part of my life. Now, as chairs, we have to have systems. The phrase that I love to use is, let the work come to you. And so when we build systems and processes, when we're following our routines, when we're structuring and scheduling our world so it repeats and it is following a pattern, as we've discussed in earlier episodes this year, our work comes to us, and it allows us to be much more effective in juggling meetings and coaching and life. Without these systems, time leaks. And Atomic Habits teaches us that these systems trump goals for consistent wins. They're the reason that allow us to really focus on our three things and achieve more than we thought we could achieve, and in doing so, help our members do the same. My three things, as we've talked about in previous episodes, are plan, coach, and facilitate. Not admin, not chaos, not being reactionary, but instead planning things out. So here are some ways that I do that in applying specific techniques that I've learned from Atomic Habits. The first one is identity-based habits. I ask myself all the time, who do I need to be in the moment? Who do I need to be for the person sitting in front of me? Who do I need to be when I'm standing in front of a group? And when I think about that, they're watching us. They're looking at not only our professional life, but our personal life. We just came out of retreat week where I had 4 groups, 2 key and 2 CEO, having retreats over a 2-week period. It was a busy time, but it was a chance for me to really spend time with members and their spouses, and for my spouse to do the same, to get to know them at a very personal level. And when they see the things in my life that I teach and talk to them about, they're much more inclined to do it. My identity as a Vistage chair is to be someone who not only loves and cares for the members in our community, but is modeling to them the things that we're learning and applying into our life. Identity-based habits are critical for us because it will enable us to make decisions that would otherwise get us off track or otherwise not model the things that we're teaching to them. I cannot tell you the number of times that I ask myself the following question: would a high-performing Vistage chair do this? And that could be a health-related thing. That could be use of time. That could be delivering content and information, or that could be asking a question to a member. A high-performing Vistage chair, in my mind, is my identity. It is who I want to be and how I want to be seen. Another technique from James Clear is habit stacking. Now, I love habit stacking. It's something that I found to be very, very useful. And I do it in a lot of different ways in my life. And so let me just give you 3 examples of how I use habit stacking in order to increase my own productivity and to stay on track with my own goals and plan and process. The first one is I like to prepare the night before for the next morning. So before I go to bed, before I have the habit of getting into bed and going to sleep, I force myself to set out what I'm going to wear the next day, pack that into my gym bag, set out my workout clothes because I'm going to the gym 5 or 6 days a week, and I know which days those are because it's on my calendar, by the way. It should be on yours too. When we do that, it forces me to make sure I am ready for the next morning. I even go in and set out my morning routine of making lunch and the things that I need to take with me, my, shake and water bottles and all the things that I need to take the next day. By doing that, by going through that routine every evening, and it takes less than 10 minutes, I am stacking on top of that a process that says I can't go to bed until I am ready for the next morning. And that's a habit that I've built in. The second habit that I've built in from stacked with is coffee. I love coffee. I don't know if you do, but I really look forward to my first sip of coffee in the morning. And so I have my first sip of coffee after I have assembled my breakfast and lunch for that morning. I also sit down and have a little devotional book that takes just a few minutes. But my rule is no devotional until I have, no coffee rather, until I have the devotional book in my hand. And that's how I generally try to start my mornings. It's just a moment of reflection and then coffee. That stack, those things together have made it easy for me to follow a process that I've laid out. The third example of this is the way that I read the Wall Street Journal. And I had a whole tips and tricks section on the Wall Street Journal a while back and mentioned this. So I love it. But this has been very helpful for me. I have a simple rule. I can't read the Wall Street Journal unless I am moving. Now, moving while you're reading the Wall Street Journal means you can't be walking or obviously sitting in a chair. So I force myself almost all the time to read the Wall Street Journal while I am on a stair-step machine at the gym, a treadmill at the gym, walking in an incline, or a bike at the gym. I'm moving while I'm reading it, and it's silly as it sounds, reading a physical paper copy of the Wall Street Journal has been the best way for me to do it. So I pick it up on my driveway, I go to the gym, and I build that into my habit stacking. So there's a couple other things that are not necessarily related to atomic habits, but certainly something that's critical for us. One is learning to say no. We always want to say yes. We always want to try to help people. That is in our nature. And quite honestly, that is the identity for us as Vistage chairs, to want to help those that we're serving. Every yes has a cost. It takes something from the other side of the scale. And so I use the lenses, the guiding principles that I have to help me say no. I refer back to William Ury's book on the power of a positive no. And I say no to meetings, and I ask myself, is this something that I should be doing completely? Is this something I should be doing now or perhaps in the future? Or is this something I should delegate to someone else? And I practice saying no, and I say a no with a very clear and strong message, and then I'll always offer another option, something else that could help the person that's got that request. Maybe it's a resource online, maybe it's another person in our community. I want to help and serve others, but at the same time, we have to guard our time and use it wisely. Lastly are automated systems. So all the tools that I've talked about with Spark and Voxer and all these little technology tools, even the new fun AI tools that I spoke about recently, these tools really create efficiency for me and streamline my process. My team uses them, I use them, and it's cut my email time dramatically. I spend very little time on email, and I do it at very intentional times of the week so that email comes to me. It's the same thing with my calendar tool and my system. So when we build all these together, when we really lean in on this system, we're going to improve our productivity. You'll be able to guard your time using things from Atomic Habits. I want to recommend that if you have not read the book Atomic Habits in the past year, now is a great time to pick it up. You're going into goal setting season. You have productivity hacks that you might be able to implement into your life. And so I would encourage you to pick it back up or listen to it again on Audible and go back through it and pick those things up that help you build your own routines, your own schedule, your identity-based habits, challenging yourself with that, habit stacking, and other things that will improve your productivity. So jump in. I appreciate you listening, and I hope you'll tell somebody about our podcast and let me know if you have questions or ideas for future episodes, for things for me to chat about. I would always happy to be here to help.
Thanks for listening to the ChairLife podcast. Remember, you can find more resources at tomcuthbert.com. Please let others know about our podcast by sending them to chairlifepodcast.com. See you next time on the ChairLife podcast.